Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing very, very well. This is going to be a new segment on the channel. I don't exactly know what we're going to call the series, but basically this is a Patreon album request, and because it is a paid request, this is going to be just the full video, no highlights, because obviously this is my full-time job now, so your boy has to make some form of an income to keep it up. But anyway guys, if you do want to get involved in this, obviously if you have an album that you want me to check out, whether it be from a band that is popular or if it is your own band, go and check out the Patreon tiers. All the links will be in the description where you can get involved. There is a tier limit. At the moment we're setting it at 3 per month. If there is a massive surge for people wanting this, then obviously I will up the tier limit, but at the moment it is limited. So if you do want to get involved, head on over to patreon.com/DrewFortune and check out all of the new tiers that I've added. Obviously you get all of the benefits that the standard tiers get. So if you just want to get the standard tiers and get involved in the Patreon polls, the Patreon podcast, the blocked album reactions, the full album reactions, all of that, there's so much benefits over there guys. All the benefits are in the description of the video as well if you want to check it out. But if you do want to avail of this service, which is a pretty unique service in its own right, and obviously you can serve as some promo for your band if you do want to get something like that, then head on over to the link in the description. But today we have the first ever album request from Patreon, from that tier, which is from my man Evan Rexford, who has sent me the album The Gloom in the Corners Trinity from last year, 2022. It's 53 minutes long. I've never heard anything from these guys, and he sent me a bit of a breakdown of the actual album in itself. Now, I do have a Reddit post that I'm probably going to like try and keep up with as I'm listening to the album, because it sounds very concept based, so it sounds like it's going to be important to somewhat keep up to date or keep on top of what's going on. Now, I'm not going to go so in depth where I'm like reading fucking Wikipedia pages on each character and that kind of shit, but I will do my best to try and keep up, and if there's any moment where I'm a bit unsure, I'll revert to the actual Reddit page that he has linked me to. So Evan has said, so you'll be reacting to The Gloom in the Corner Trinity. It's their third album. They're from Melbourne, Australia. Basically their entire premise is that all of their music is based around the story being told across every single release, from albums to EPs to everything. Everything is connected in some way or is just telling another part of the story. I'm also adding a link to the literal 72-page document that they have made going into the world and the story they've created since 2016. So this is what I mean, where I'm not going to get so deep into this, because honestly, if I start getting into all this, I'll be here for hours. I'm also adding a paste bin about each track, and the lyrics on Spotify should be able to help you understand it while you're listening. All of them can be found on Genius, but it is a lot easier if they're just in one spot for you to look at while you're listening or something. I'll also add who features or who each of the features are, because there are literally features on every fucking track, just about. I can put this album on repeat and not mind whatsoever. If The Devil Wears Prada's Color Decay didn't come out last year, this would have been my #1 album of 2022. So I don't know if this means that they're anything like The Devil Wears Prada. I'm not sure. He sent me a link to a paste bin for the behind the lyrics, so I think that's just like a Reddit page or something like that. No, it's literally paste bin. It looks like Reddit. And then he said the features are Monique Pym of Relica as Rachel. So we got like literal characters for each person in this, so it's going to get so confusing. Of Relica as Rachel on the initial track, or the second track. Ryo Kinoshita, previously of Crystal Lake, as Ronan on the track Ronan. Monica Strutt of The Last Martyr, portraying Clara on Black Rot. Taylor Barber of Left to Suffer on New Order. Amanda Dufield, the lead singer's sister, on Clutch. Lauren Babick of Red Handed Denial on... Isn't she like a YouTuber or something like that? I'm pretty sure she has a channel. Anyway, of Red Handed Denial on Pandora's Box. Red Clouds has 3 features with Crystal Jolina, Elijah Witt of Cane Hill, and Rachel Jefferson. Crystal is independent and not sure who Rachel is. Ryan Kirby of Fit for a King on Gatekeeper. And lastly, Joe Badolato. Oh, is that his actual name? I thought it was just Joe Bad. Joe Bad from Fit for an Autopsy on Hail to the King. So I'm guessing that's the outro track. Yes, it is. So a lot of features, a lot of big names. I'm not familiar with a lot of them. I know Joe Bad from Fit for an Autopsy. I know Taylor Barber of Left to Suffer. I haven't heard any Left to Suffer's music, but I've heard him on the project, Project Vengeance. And everyone else is names that I've seen before in the reaction community, but I've never actually listened to any of their music. So I will have the paste bin page open beside me, and I'll go into the actual descriptions while I'm listening, or if there's anything that I'm unsure of, you know, I'll be able to kind of read it out to you guys, and we'll just listen along. So guys, if you are interested, like I said, in having this for an album of yours, or an album that you want me to hear that might not be in the Patreon polls, then by all means avail of the Patreon tier that you can get in the description of this video. Please drop a like in this video if you haven't already, be much appreciated. Make sure you're subbed to the channel, and without any further ado, let's jump into the Gloom in the Corners, Trinity. Alright, so let me paint you a picture that settles in the air, painting the clouds in red. Okay, I'm gonna pause already, I'm sorry, because I do want to keep up with the story. Honestly, based on the album artwork, I thought we were gonna get like some crazy thrash death metal kind of like ridiculously fucking intense album, but now the fact, and then I was thinking, hold on, Evan has said that his #2 album of the year, or his #1 album of the year, was Devil Wears Prada Color Decay, which is like far from what I thought this album would be. So I was kind of like, but now I'm after hearing this intro, and I'm kind of thinking, right, this is probably going to be very up my street if it goes along the lines of this, but some of the features maybe suggest otherwise. So I am very, very interested. Again, because this is a Patreon request, does not mean I'm going to like this for the sake of it. If this sucks, I'll be fucking saying it straight out. But yeah, I want to just quickly read the intro because I don't want to fall behind too early, okay? Now, again, some of the parts might go over my head. So, from heaven to hell, our story opens on the narrator painting a picture for the listener of the demonic landscape our three heroes are cast to. The sound of a clock ticking and winding insinuates that time doesn't, or winding, I'm so stupid, insinuates that time doesn't work as it should in the rabbit hole. Terrible circumstances from the moral realm are stuck in a loop, and time has a tendency to skip and jump back and forth in places where maybe it shouldn't. Discombobulating newcomers to the dimension, both monsters and lost souls fill the world of hunt or be hunted, and a black sun that fills the sky with red clouds never descends, a perpetual reality somewhere between day and night. Okay, so this is the most, even the writing, the description of these tracks is intense. As the sky opens for our heroes to descend to the realm, falling through the clouds, one of them, an angel, sings a byword from the previous arc in our story. Again, I'm coming in late to the story, so I'm sure if I go back in time, if I do end up liking this, you know, I'll be able to hear the callbacks to previous albums. So let's just start again. I'll shut up for the entirety of this track and just, let it take me over, and we'll see. But I like the vocal introduction. Let me paint you a picture that settles in the air, painting the clouds in red with no mercy to spare. Souls cry out for help, three souls plunge down from the heavens above, bringing down the sky. Go with wings, serenade to fall from grace with all that everyone now knows. Vocalist has those theatrical vocals. Everyone now knows. I love this intro. Okay, right, we're getting into the story. The way that call out came in, it reminded me of Ronnie Radke and Falling in Reverse, I'm not gonna lie. And then that as well, very Ronnie Radke.
And then there were three cast down from the worlds above. Let me introduce the first. She wears this chain and a noose as a necklace. Make the girl a glass.
Ah, this is sick. I know we're only starting the second track, and like, let's be honest, this could go absolutely arseways, and I may not even enjoy the whole album, but I do love how this starts, and especially because they're using features to like paint characters. This would probably mean a lot more if I knew Monique Pym, but I don't know who the fuck that is. Again, I'll revert back to Evan's message and just figure out who exactly she is, just to give it the full experience. So this is Relica. I believe Relica is like one of those bands like Nightwish, if I'm not mistaken, where people just react to them and get like millions of views. Could be wrong. But this is the Girl of Glass, I think is what they refer to her as. But let me just quickly read the next part. So after double crossing section 13, okay, here we go. We're getting way into this fucking imaginary world. After double crossing section 13 leading to her death, Rachel spent an extended amount of time in the limbo dimension where the panel of judgments decided her fate, where she was able to haunt Jay. Right. However, the panel cast her to the garden for an ancient bloodline connection to the first angels that created the multiple dimensions. Okay, so I am a little bit out of the loop here with this storyline. So, but look, Evan wanted me to jump into this, so you can blame Evan if this is completely the wrong place to be jumping in, but I'll obviously try and take myself away from the storyline as well and just appreciate the music, because I did like the vocal introduction and everything along those lines that we led into. Whether or not we're going to get more of those vocals because it's a feature on every single track, I don't know how it's going to work. She became addicted to the idea of being close to the one she loved and began to secretly work on necromantic spells that would allow her to visit the mortal realm. We are so deep already. This led to her visiting Jay frequently. Who the fuck is Jay? But she was soon discovered by gatekeepers of the panel and sentenced to an eternity in the rabbit hole for her disobeyment. Once in the hole, she continued to use the necromancy to contact her love. But with the change of atmosphere and the substitution of various ingredients, Rachel's state of mind began to slowly decay with each visit to her lover's slumber until prevented her visiting again after discovering he was the one that killed her via proxy of Sherlock and locking Sherlock out with the damned seal. This is supposed to be a description of this track, and it's making me more confused. Distraught and broken, she aimlessly wandered hell's plains, hunted by demons for her angelic lineage and gatekeepers for her further use of dark magic and attempt at contacting other dimensions. As she continued to hide and run, she vowed that she'll one day return home to Jay so she can be with him again. After some time, at a point near death, she is saved by an ethereal figure and a knight in the mechanical armor. This is like fucking English class again. I'm trying to struggle to say these words. Their narrator and Ronan. And then the next track is Ronan. Okay, so there, I read the description. I have no fucking clue what this is about. Like, that hasn't helped whatsoever. I don't know if that was supposed to help, but I'm up to date on what's going on. But she's just been lowered into this world. That's what I'm getting. This is the vocalist of the Gloom in the Corner again.
If you say
Are we still talking about Jay here?
I kept, and through it all I'd orchestrate the end of the
Okay, so next track is like the next person's descent into this world. Oh, right. Okay. Let me catch up with the story, guys, okay? Because we need to stay on top of the story. Now, this is Ryo Kinoshita from Crystal Lake, or previously from Crystal Lake, again, another band that I've never heard before. I've heard them all over the reaction scene. I've always seen people reacting to them and that kind of thing. But I've obviously never done any of the music on the channel, so maybe I'll do Crystal Lake at some point. But Ethan Hardy's descent into the rabbit hole was an unorthodox event. So we've got one of the characters, or one of the protagonists, whatever you want to call them, has descended into the rabbit hole already. That was the girl from, I'm getting confused already, Rachel. Spending Cinema. That was Rachel, okay? She's gone into the hole. And now we have Ethan Hardy's descent to the rabbit hole was an orthodox event, standing before the panel of judgment after his suicide. Okay. So we're getting a few spoilers here, so apologies if you guys wanted to keep up with the story. I'm guessing this guy killed himself, so yeah, there you go. He forced his way into the rabbit hole without the approved sentencing on the panel Determined to seek out Rachel and find a way back to the mortal realm once she had been found. Going against the approval of the panel, Ethan became a high-value target for the keepers, becoming hunted by both demon kind and the judges in his quest in the rabbit hole. At first, the panel were determined to retrieve him to face proper sentencing. At first, the panel were determined to retrieve him to face proper sentencing. But after violently terminating multiple keepers, he became marked for permanent termination by the panel. Demons and keepers were no match for him, however, and Ethan's quest turned to a bloody and barbaric crusade, decimating those who stood in his way without hesitation. After a near-death battle, Ethan was sought out by the narrator, who guided him to an ancient set of mystical armor. The armor of Sherlock Bones from his time to the... We're getting introduced to fucking so many characters here. Sherlock Bones... Is that supposed to be like Sherlock Holmes, but Sherlock Bones... From his time in the first reign under King Bafiko, the Black Cloud. After altering and modernizing the armor to suit his needs, Ethan set back out on his quest, becoming even more violent and bloody than before, where he earned the name of Ronin. So Ethan Hardy is Ronin in this shadow realm, essentially, from those who both feared and hunted him. After some time, he found Rachel after the guidance of the narrator. Okay, so let's go back. This is gonna be a long video. Get him, Ethan! such a loud mix. Okay. The most noble thing I did was off myself. There's Ethan talking about his past life. This is fucking wild. Help. Ah! Alright, let me catch up and we'll start again. Okay? Let me catch up. Let's just okay, so I'm actually kind of following the lyrics a bit. I'm glad that these little moments to actually read before. So, the Black Rot. So from my understanding, we have Ethan Hardy who offed himself as he self-described in the track, who is being played by Ryo that guy from Crystal Lake, and he is also now in this shadow realm. He is known as Ronan. Okay, so he's just met up with Rachel, who is the girl from Relica. Okay, now they're together. Okay, so now we're getting the Black Rot. The last of the Trinity and Ryo Kinoshita or whatever the fuck Ronan is, he's a fucking nutcase. He's just gonna murder everyone from what I can see. The last of the Trinity to join us on this guest, Clara Karn, descends to the rabbit hole with the promise to herself of finding a way back to the mortal realm to be with Sherlock. Sherlock getting another shout out. Despite her unfortunate demise at his hand, she unequivocally knows that his hand was forced in the ordeal, and with the passing of time in the rabbit hole, her love and desire to be with him again only grows stronger. Oh, so cute. During her time before meeting Rachel and Ethan, she began to deal with complex necromancy to find a way back to the mortal realm and bypass the panel of judgment. This is like the fucking X Factor or something. But nothing appears to work. Word spread amongst demons that she was the lover of the infamous Sherlock Bones, and soon Clara amassed an army of her own. Upon being found by the narrator, Clara shows her disdain. I just spat all over my screen. Clara shows her disdain of being grouped together with the Girl of Glass and Ronan and the desired outcome of the journey, wishing that Jay had let Sherlock take full control when he had the chance. Okay, so Clara sounds like she's going to be a problem. And that if anyone should be in control of that vessel, it should be Sherlock. Okay, so she sounds like she's trying to get that Sherlock flu. That's what it sounds like. And she's not really fucking with Ronan and Clara from what I'm getting so far. Despite their differences, the unholy Trinity commenced their journey after the narrator asks them with obtaining 3 mythical objects. The first being the Hand of the King, a blade wielded by Sherlock in his time of the first. This is the nerdiest story I've ever heard in my life. A blade wielded by Sherlock in his time of the first reign, currently in possession of the Reaper that travels the highways of hell. The second object, Pandora's box, is said to be located at the bottom of the frozen lake of Cocytus. Anyway. And the third object is the heart of the ruler, the beating heart of the current ruler of hell, Asmodeus. Okay, so no idea what the fuck just happened there, but we've got Monica Strutt up next, who is, let me just quickly, she is the Last Martyrs vocalist, I believe. And she's playing Clara on Black Rot, which is the track we are about to jump into. So let's not overcomplicate things and just bring it back and go. That's the narrator talking to the characters. So now she's like, I'll fucking show you. I'd love if they had a moment where they go back and forth for like an exchange of vocals. That'd be sick. Oh, chills. It's kind of giving me like Evanescence vibes. It just feels like one of those old school tracks. I like it. Pirates of the Caribbean. The Caribbean. Wow. Right, that was a lot. I liked the back and forth between the narrator and... what's her name? Forgotten already. Clara. Okay, let me quickly catch up. But some of the vocals in this is beautiful. I like the narrator's vocals. Obviously, we got that in the intro track, and then we got a little bit more of them there. So I like when he gets back involved. Did like Clara's, or what's her actual name? I'm getting so confused with names here. Monica Strutt. I liked her sound overall. I think that's going to be a grower. I'm actually going to like that one. Let me go back real quick and like that. Oh, that was loud. Jesus. Yeah, some of the breakdowns and everything like that are fucking intensely loud. Like it's very, the mix sounds very, very large. Like it's very hard to distinguish between certain moments. You can hear like a bit of like a gented bend, like bow now now bow now now coming in the back of the mix, but overall it's very loud. It's a big crashing wall of sound, which I think kind of adds to like the epic nature of the story being told. But if I didn't have all of the like story background and just understand that it's a part of a bigger story, I don't think I'd be that like mad about this so far. I think, yeah, I'd be like listening to some of the tracks and be like, yeah, this is pretty cool. But it's one of these albums that like adds so much more to it when you're really paying attention to the lyrics and just like know it's overall a part of like an epic story. So yeah, we're now on to New Order, which is the, let's see who's on this one. So this is Taylor Barber of Left to Suffer. So this is probably going to be heavy from what I've seen Taylor Barber being featured in on the Project Vengeance track. So this one's New Order. Taylor Barber, Left to Suffer. Now, let's read about this. So, New Order. The origin story of Elias the Graver and Atticus N.K. is a dark and gruesome tale. In his adolescence, the church the Graver was a part of the ostracized... Okay, so just bear with me. I'm just going to read the story just for the sake of the video, but a lot of this is going to go over my head because I haven't heard the other tracks, so or the other albums. So, the church the Graver was a part of the ostracized and attempted to murder him when they discovered his supernatural abilities, seeing him as demonic and a false messiah. In response, NK, an ancient Gloom that, much like Sherlock, was reincarnated in the Graver. Who is Taylor Barber? It doesn't say who Taylor Barber's playing. I don't know what character he's playing, but it hasn't been mentioned in Evan's message. He just said Taylor Barber on Left to Suffer on New Order. Taylor Barber, yeah, I don't know what he's playing, but anyway, we'll figure it out. I'm guessing it's Elias the Graver. Seeing him as a demonic and false messiah, in response emerged from the Graver and turned on his friends and family, burning down the establishment with everyone in it. Only he and NK survived. Wandering the streets alone, the Graver was taken in by a chapter of the Holy Order and converted to their religion, being taught that monsters and supernaturalists are better to mortals, though the Graver still saw them as equal. Over time, the Graver and NK rise to the ranks of the faction, soon becoming the president of the entire global organization in the events leading up to Jay and Sherlock's demise. Right. After the sections of disabandonment and the exposure of the supernaturalist community to the public, the Graver and the Holy Order take charge as an official government agency, tasked with assisting and aiding their community on a worldwide scale. Despite all this, the Order and its community are still frowned upon by the mortals, and after taking some time, the Graver and NK stage a worldwide coup, taking over all governments and military, bringing the supernaturalists to a level higher than ever before in history. So this is like just jumping so quickly through the story in like a few paragraphs. So yeah, obviously these songs are just jam-packed with shit going on, so we won't look too deep into this, but let's see Taylor Barber's involvement in this track. I'm guessing this is going to be heavy as fuck. I love these moments, like Bad Omens. I just love these vocal moments in metal tracks.
You thought you had a chance. Because the good book said that I'm not your follow man. You say what goes around, comes around. You say what goes around, comes around. You say what goes around, comes around. I called you love and I'll see you at the right time. You see what goes around, comes around. You see what goes around, comes around. You say what goes around, comes around. Going to hell, and I'll see you on the way down. My king, long live his...
Honestly, I'm not even sure if that was Taylor Barber or not. I don't know enough of his music to be able to distinguish. But I feel like the cadence wise kind of sounded like it could have been the narrator, which is the guy in the Gloom in the corner. I don't know.
Comes around.
think that was Taylor. It might have been Taylor in the first screaming moment as well. But again, the production on the like breakdown moments are the big distorted guitar moments. Like here. Production on it is a little bit like thinned out. And it just feels like a big wall of sound, which again is kind of like playing more into the story as opposed to being something that I like musically, if that makes sense.
The orders come to push you down.
Yeah, it feels like it's more... The song is like serving the story as opposed to serving the audience a good song to listen to over and over again, if that makes sense. For me, anyway. Every song has been like so climactic. I know it's like a story, but a lot of the times these stories don't necessarily go like track by track. It's like every single track has its own story within the grand scheme of the story, because we're getting like a climactic moment at the end with like a big, massive, disgusting breakdown. Yeah, overall, it's been like, it's definitely cool. It's a cool album so far. Musically, like I said, the track that we just listened to was very theatrical, especially towards the end. It sounds like that kind of like, I don't want to say Nightwish, but I remember Nightwish having that like Pirates of the Caribbean kind of sound to it, with the strings and everything being included in the massive wall of sound, like breakdown moments, climactic moments. So it's definitely good, but whether or not I'd listen to this many times after, I do really fuck with the vocalist from the Gloom in the Corner, that the guy is doing the narration. Taylor Barber's moments in it were like, yeah, they're okay. I guess they suited the actual moment or the actual song. But again, it feels like it's more like catering for the overall story in the grand scheme of things. It's almost like more like watching a movie as opposed to like listening to a song. Like it's like one of them things, if I watch a movie that's like really good or whatever, I'm not going to instantly go back and watch that movie straight away again. You know, I might come back to it at some point down the line, but it's not like a, I don't know what the comparison, if I'm going to continue on in the movie analogy, like certain songs you want to go back to and listen to straight away because they might have like catchy elements, or just generally like a really like replay factor track has a lot of replayability. But this one, to me, some of them are a little bit more have a little bit more replay value, but this one again feels like that kind of spectacle music where you listen to it once, you're blown away by it, and then you're like, maybe like I'll show it to a friend and be like, listen to the story, it's really cool, pay attention to all this. So like in that right, it's really good art, but musically some of the moments are a little bit like not, I guess, lackluster. If the story wasn't involved in it, I'd just be kind of like, yeah, it's not really for me, you know. Some people like this more theatrical style, which is completely understandable, but for me, replay value wise, so far, it's like, you know, it's not the most replay value worthy. But we're moving on to the track called Clutch. So let's go back to the message here and see Amanda Duffield, the lead singer's sister on Clutch. Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't. Evan hasn't told me who Amanda Duffield is. Anyway, she's the lead singer's sister on Clutch. Oh, sorry, the lead singer. So the Gloom in the Corners is the lead singer. So the lead singer of the Gloom in the Corners' sister is Amanda Duffield. Okay, so that makes more sense. She is the singer on Clutch. Okay, so we're getting a family member feature. That's nice, you know. Jumping back down to the rabbit hole, we meet the Trinity as they wander down the highway of hell. A dried up and barren river Styx. The Trinity quarrel with each other. Rachel spirals further into her anxious state of mind as Clara berates her over trivial arguments while Ronan tries to keep them both from killing each other. This feels like something from The Last of Us, but somehow ends up as a moderator for the arguments. Eventually, a white hearse pulls up to the to greet them. Sharon, the ferryman turned ride-share driver, who takes souls between various layers of hell and current possessor of the Hand of the King. So this is one of those weapons. Sharon tells them that if they wish to take the hand, they must first travel with him to the end of his route while he's intoxicated. What is going on? Clara argues heavily against the deal as the trauma of her parents' death resurfaces. But before a decision is made, the Trinity are attacked by a swarm of demons, of course they are, and are forced to take Sharon's deal to survive. Boarding the hearse, commencing the ride of their lives. Okay, so this fella is locked, essentially. He's what we'd say in Ireland for intoxicated beyond belief, and he's drink driving. So, few points on the license, probably a bit of jail time he'll serve, considering he's probably over the age. So, is it worth escaping the horde of demons? I would imagine so, yes. So, tire screeching, bottles downs. The Trinity scream down the river Styx aboard Sharon's chariot as they fight off demons, as you do. While Sharon incapacitates and Ethan slaughters, Clara clings on for dear life as Sharon screams down the road, wavering drunkenly both from the intoxication and to shake off the following demons. As they reach the climax of their journey, they unforeseeably run off the road as Sharon swerves to avoid two keepers pursuing a bounty and crash the hearse. Sharon believes the Trinity's debt has been paid, giving them the hand of the king. Okay, so they got one of the weapons, but heeds the warning of not using the hand on Earth against its current ruler in fear of opening up portals between worlds. The Trinity flee the scene to avoid combat with the Keeper. The two Keepers rummage their way through the wreckage to Sharon, who informs them of the Trinity's plan to dimension jump. I was only getting used to this dimension. They were fucking hopping off and begin to tail them on their journey. Okay, so that was clutch, and let's go into this one. Again, that kind of like undertone of gent. I'm still drinking here. Bit of misogyny, as you do. So we're swerving here. What the fuck? So the narrator is the fucking wizard cunt who's fucking locked at the wheel. Alright, got it. This is the lead vocalist's sister. This is so like a pantomime. Yeah, so they've crashed for sure. There's that theatrical sound coming in. This is like hearing a pantomime without seeing it. It's sick. Again, in the context of the story, this is so cool. But without that description, I'd be fucking lost. So it sounds like this bloke just after dying. He's after passing away, but he hands on the fucking magic conch shell or whatever the fuck it is. The hand of God. Let's see. Okay, moving on. We're going into Pandora's Box, and this is Lauren Babic of Red Handed Denial on Pandora's Box. Okay, so Lauren Babic, I believe, is that girl from YouTube. She's obviously in a band as well, but I believe I know her from, is it like vocal covers or something? Lauren Babic. Yeah, but she's doing fucking makeup videos. What? Lauren Babic. Yeah, I've seen her channel before. Lauren Babic. Yeah, she does like vocal covers, but obviously she's in that band as well. So yeah, that is Lauren Babic, and she's featuring on this one. So let's go back to, okay, the description of this track, which is Pandora's Box. The Trinity make their way to the lake of the Cocytus, where a great battle rages between the army of Asmodeus and another demonic faction. Stepping forward into no man's land, the Trinity wade their way through the war zone to the edge of the lake, where they are separated in the chaos of the combat. Dazed and shell-shocked from the incoming bombardment, Rachel staggers towards the center of the lake, fear running through her veins. The Ronin, fully engaged in combat, yeah, this fella just doesn't stop, does he? With demonic forces, calls out to her to stop, but she's hit with a second bombardment, breaking the ice beneath her. This is kind of giving me like Apex Legends vibes for some reason. And the Ronin and the Queen can only watch helplessly as she sinks into the lake. Ah, rest in peace. As Rachel sinks, her anxieties and fears began to escalate. Cold water fills her lungs as she apathetically struggles to make her way to the surface, somewhat believing that her own internal torment is what's weighing her down. This is poetic as shit. As she sinks further to the bottom, slowly losing consciousness, she sees Pandora's Box and swims over to it with the intention that when the others find her body, at least they'll find the device that they need. Wrapping her arms around the box as she fades into oblivion, she spots a splash from above, and the Ronin swims down to save her, dragging both her and the box back to surface. This is like too convenient that they just keep bumping into all these things that they need. Clara drags them both from the lake, and the Trinity continues crossing the lake, heading towards a modernized reconstruction of the Tower of Babel. Meanwhile, the two keepers inspect the hole in Cocytus that Ronan and Rachel emerge from, using sonar binoculars to see if Pandora's Box has been taken or not. They have a short squabble, but finally agree that the box has been taken, and they realize that they'll be doing a dimensional jump ritual involving the heart of Asmodeus, and they continue to the tower to stop them. That is the description for Pandora's Box. So let's hear Lauren Babic on this track. So here's that anxiety being described by the narrator. Drowning in my own trepidation. Production, that compression making it sound like they're underwater. Yeah, without that description, I'd be so lost right now. Like, each track makes sense when I read it, but as a story, I wouldn't be able to follow the whole thing, you know? Oh man, this is so like a Monuments track. Oh, what is it? Hold on, let me find it. Is it Dead Nest? It's definitely a monument.
Down, 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 little, down, down.
Is it Original Escape?
Bow, 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 little, down, down.
Yeah, I think it is.
Every hour passing by puts me further in my mind. How am I meant to survive when I feel barely alive? How am I meant to survive when I feel barely alive? The cold seems deep into my bones. I just want to feel at home. I just want to feel alive. My burdens weigh my feet as I sink like an anchor to a chain. To survive when I feel barely alive. Drowning in my own trepidation. Living in a dive. Swallowed by sin. I can't seem to sink or swim. Stuck somewhere in the in-between. I'm finding it harder to breathe. The cold clog my veins. In this lake of ice. In this lake of
I quite like this track. I'm gonna like it because it has that Monuments feel to it as well. Not now, but it did. And I'm just reading the message from Evan at the very end of it. He says, also, if you don't like Behemoth, you're absolutely nuts. So that's up next. So let's see if I'm absolutely nuts. There's been 2 tracks that have been playlists so far. So by Evan's recommendation, I should hopefully love Behemoth, which is next. So this is a perfect way to just pause it right now because there's a bit of a fade out at the end of this track. So let me pause real quick and we'll just quickly read up on Behemoth to give us more backstory into this track. Also, let's see who is on this one. So Behemoth, he doesn't actually mention anything about Behemoth from what I can see. So maybe there's no feature. I guess we'll see when the track pops up. But let's read on the Pastebin site. So climbing the Tower of Babel, the Trinity meet the ruler of the rabbit hole, Asmodeus. Okay, so we finally meet this fella. Clara and Rachel assume they think they're being led to a trap, but Ethan assures that, yeah, how could you trust Ethan? Man's going around mauling everyone. Assures them they'll be fine. Alas, upon reaching Asmodeus, he tells them he's lured them to him so that he can kill specifically the Ronin himself. Yeah, get rid of him, man. He's a liability. The Ronin and Asmodeus launch into combat, and Clara and Rachel begin fighting Asmodeus' minions. Asmodeus's minions, of course. As the battle rages on, Asmodeus continues to arrogantly express victory, mental warfare. But Ronin's rage gives him the upper hand, and Asmodeus begins to realize he's losing an uphill battle. The Ronin, fueled by the rage from having to deal with Clara and Rachel's constant arguing and dealing with grievances of his man just had enough, finishes off Asmodeus with barbaric cruelty, not quite killing the demigod, but incapacitating him enough to take his heart for the ritual. Okay, so yeah, Behemoth is going to be heavy. Carving it out with the hand of the king. The narrator emerges, instructing them to begin the ritual now that they have the hand of the king, Pandora's box, and the heart of the devil. Okay, sorry, I thought my dog was at the door. And the heart of the devil. Rachel asks him if he will be joining them in coming back to Earth, and tells them that he's bound to the ethereal realms, and that once they are back on Earth, they're on their own. A roar from onslaught of the Asmodeus' forces comes from the outside of the throne room, and the Trinity prepare for battle. This reminds me of one of the levels in Halo. One of the last levels for some reason. I'm just getting mad nostalgic vibes. The two keepers reach this is Halo 3 I'm talking about, by the way. The two keepers reach the bottom of the Tower of Babel just as the ritual begins, watching the clouds swirl and lightning crack as the portal begins to open. The one with green eyes expresses they haven't much time to stop them. The one with grey eyes oddly verbalizes that it's ironic that they're going to the highest floor to stop them from going to the realm of the living, but the other ignores him, and the two begin to climb. Okay, I'm completely lost, but we're just going to get into Behemoth, which is going to be an absolute behemoth of a track. Let's go. Now, let's see if Evan knows me.
I've waited you three, watched and mourned as you've traveled across my land.
Okay, so this is the narrator playing the Asmodeus guy.
For someone filled with tumultuous thoughts, you have managed to stay alive. You have kept the full fate blink of the death, commendable. The time has come to pay, and inside shall be.
They don't finish with a fatality.
Shut the fuck up! Hell be thy name! Stop talking like a cunt! I'll just start lying to me soon! I said I'd never go back. I guess I'm used to being pushed to the point where I fucking snap. Step back, empty the mag. Fucking shoot to kill, I go for the kneecaps. Well, yeah, we gotta tell you what we need. This ain't not feeling your feeling. Shoot the messenger, I'll fucking shoot back. Turn your head to the country, smash like glass. I felt the chains will cut through you like a pig against a blade. I'll feel the pain. Die, motherfucker, die! Hell be thy name!
Mad Doom vibes. Especially the context of the lyrics. The chainsaw mentioned as well. Sounds like it's been sped up. This is literally a falling reverse track. I mean, it's instrumentally sick. Few like abrupt transitions. Yeah. Still very thinned out. It's like lacking a bit of warmth to it. A little bit similar to Falling Reverse, and some of the lyrics are missing a bit because they're a little bit like cringe. It's like kind of too theatrical, but a part of the story, it's, I guess, playing into the story, it does kind of work because it's like this enchanted fucking shadow realm. So yeah, I'll let them away with the cringe lyrics.
With the last token required for your journey home obtained, it is time to commence the ritual to take you between worlds.
Show us what to do.
Fuck. Ronan, your work isn't done yet. You and the angel hold off Hell's forces.
One of my pals is called Ronan, so it's kind of funny just hearing it in the context of this chaos.
You know your roles. Begin.
Okay, right, we're getting into the meat of this album here, so let's go on to Gravity and let's see what we have here. So Red Clouds is 3 features, so Evan hasn't included anything up until Red Clouds, so we're not at that just yet. So I'll read the description on Pastebin. So Gravity. As Clara and the narrator begin working on the ritual, Rachel and Ronan fight off Asmodeus' remaining forces. Okay, so we've killed Asmodeus. He's been like,
continue on without me.
Alright, no need for that. Rachel's anxiety's heightened. Oh, this Rachel, but get rid of her. She's a liability, as is Ronan, but at least Ronan's pulling his weight here. Rachel's anxiety's heightened as Clara gets closer to opening the portal, even falling back to let the Ronin tear down the horde with a Gatling gun. But the pressure and intensity continues to grow as they're surrounded by the battalion. The two keepers reach the fight and cut their way through to stop them, and the one with the green eyes reaches out to grab her just as the portal completes its construction, and Clara pushes her through. This feels like when you're getting the random mystery box in, or not the pack-a-punch in Zombies, and you're just like helping your mate while he's getting it, and you're on like round 40 and you're like, fuck. Like you've left your little corner to like horde zombies in and like train zombies in, and then you've gone to the pack a punch and you're like really risking it because you're on round 40 and you have to like go away to get ammo and shit, and like this is what it feels like, you know. It's you're just waiting there and like the portal's being built, it's still in construction, and fucking Rachel has anxieties, and just Ronan's just on a mad one. Like Ronan's that unreliable one in the group that just kills everyone, but he's skilled. Rachel's just a fucking nuisance, get rid of her. Anyway, rant over. And Clara pushes her through, and the Ronan, the Queen, and the Girl of Glass fall into the portal, closing it behind them as they transcend down the wormhole. Rachel feels an elation she's never felt before. She's pulled apart and put back together inside the wormhole, and has an anxious excitement at the thought of returning home to her loved ones. The Trinity finished their ascension to the mortal realm, emerging from their graves in the Section 13 burial ground in Melbourne, depicting a slight change in their appearance. Rachel's eyes changing to the violet due to the reconstruction of her body surging her ancestral dark angel powers. Clara's eyes turning grey due to her connection with Sherlock. What the fuck is going on? Back in the throne room of the tower, the two keepers assess the carnage the Trinity have caused and speak to Asmodeus as he dies. Asmodeus tells him that the ritual is only partially complete, and that in order for the Trinity to completely collapse the barriers between worlds, they will need to defeat the ruler of the mortal realm with the hand of the king. Something he suspects is bound to happen once Rachel realizes the Degraver was the one that killed Jay and Sherlock. The two keepers finish off Asmodeus and speak of planning to warn the Graver and NK of what's about to happen. But before they can leave, they're trapped in the throne room by the narrator, who tells them he has his own reasons for wanting the Trinity to kill the ruler of the mortal realm. The narrator, a keeper himself, leaves the two keepers, keeping them from being keeping them from being able to leave the rabbit hole until they are needed. Okay. Again, completely and utterly lost here, but we're gonna continue on. So this should be the narrator kind of like laying the fucking law down again, because there's no features on this one from what I can see. So this is evidently the Gatling gun moment. Yeah, give me some of those beautiful narration cleans, please, because it's been fucking wild for the past few minutes. Oh yeah, Moglis is talented, man. Okay, so they're setting up the next track, which is Red Clouds, which is what we do have a message from Evan on, so let me get that up. Okay, so we have Crystal Jolina, Elijah Witt of Cane Hill, and Rachel Jefferson. Crystal is independent and not sure who Rachel is. Okay, right. So there's another Rachel to add to the mix here, but Rachel's actually a real person and not this made-up character in the series or in the story. So we are on to Red Clouds. Let me just pause it real quick because we have another moment, thankfully. The Trinity briefly go their separate ways to seek out their loved ones and reconnect. But as they each go down their own journeys, they realize the world they left has changed drastically since they left. They're going to end up wanting to come back together, isn't that what's going to happen? And that it's been a decade since the fall of the sect. Rachel finds that not only has the sect been dismantled, but all of her loved ones have either moved on or away. Dispersed around the world or locked up after trials that led to the sex disbandment. The Ronin finds that his partner Isaac has moved on and is now happily married with adopted children. And Clara discovers that the Graver and NK killed Jay and Sherlock as the sect were exposed. For fuck's sake. The Trinity meet back up at the Section 13 burial ground, where Clara and the Ronin find Rachel huddling over Jay's grave crying. Rachel's just a fucking pain in the arse, isn't she? The Trinity venture to one of the places where it all began, the bar where the oxymoron incident occurred. So again, I'm lost here. They sit down to have a drink in the nearly empty bar, a TV playing softly in the background, questioning what to do next. A news report sparks interest between them, and they get the bartender to turn it up. The news report tells them that in the anniversary of the Ultima Pluvia, the day of the supernatural community was exposed. The Graver will be hosting an event in celebration where supernaturalists and mortals can come together in harmony and celebrate a unification. A decade after the events, and 5 years after the beginning of his ruling, Rachel, with anger and hatred building up within her, declares she's planning to kill him at the event. Oh God, Rachel, you need to stop thinking with your emotions, okay? Rachel is evidently the crutch. Is that she's the weak point in the group, right? So if anything's going to fall apart, it's because of Rachel. A few days later, the Trinity confront the Graver and NK at the event. NK antagonizes Rachel, pushing her over the edge and releasing her dark angel form. Okay, so we have a few features on this one. Let's get into Red Clouds. A lot to take in from this. I'm a bit bamboozled, I'm not going to lie. But it definitely helps to get all of the descriptions and the breakdowns of everything, you know? Getting like, I can imagine this in a pantomime where like the curtains are coming down and like the lights are dimming, the characters are readjusting themselves on stage to like get into positions for the next climactic moment. Oh, it's very Ronnie Radke in some of his deliveries. Overall, the production as well kind of sounds like Falling in Reverse, but even the vocalist at some points, which is a compliment. I know Ronnie Radke isn't exactly the most adored person in the scene, but he does sound like him. He's very talented. Caught me in the feels there a little bit at the end. We get emotional over fictional characters here, but let's do a quick catch up before we go into the Gatekeeper track, which I believe Ryan Kirby off of Fit for a King, another band that I haven't checked out any of. So again, obviously, if you guys want to see me check out any Fit for a King, let me know in the comment section down below. But Gatekeeper, Jay tells how after his death at the hands of the Degraver, he and Sherlock were assigned to the panel of judgment as gatekeepers, the authoritative enforcers that serve... Have I gone too far here? I have, sorry. This is Nor Hell a Fury. That's what we're going into next. So, the fight begins. Rachel fighting the transformed Degraver and killing anyone daring enough to come close. And Ronan and Clara fighting off security forces while the two battle. As the battle rages on, Rachel becomes more and more aggressive, becoming more and more violent in her attacks. The Ronan and Clara turn the event site around them into a battleground, devastating their foes in theatrical destruction. Rachel's fury surpasses Degraver's ability and he falls against her might. Rachel goes ballistic on the fallen ruler, killing him with the Hand of the King, knowing full well that the consequence of said actions will lead to the bridge between worlds, with the intention that maybe she will be able to bring back her love as she continues to stab the Degraver long after he's dead. Okay, relax, Rachel. This is what I mean about the emotions getting involved, Rachel. You need to chill. She collapses, crying over the corpse of the man who killed her love. Rain begins to pour heavily, and the crowd begins to rally around the Trinity. Rachel eggs him on for a fight, knowing that she'd decimate anyone who would dare come near her. Clara and the Ronin try to approach her, but she lashes out at them, injuring them both with her dark angel form. However, before she could do any real damage, the storm raging above them strikes two bolts of lightning down, one in a nearby building and one in the center of the crowd. The audience makes way for the figure emerging from the crater made from the lightning, the green-eyed keeper, slowly making his way forward to the stage where the Trinity are. Rachel snaps out of her breakdown to focus on the potential new enemy, and the Ronin raises his sword to him as he approaches, but before he can attack, the keeper takes off his mask, revealing it to be Julian Hardy, Rachel's lover. Oh Jesus. Rachel stares awestruck, somewhat hesitant to believe it's really Jay before them. The Trinity asks how he's alive, and he begins to briefly summarize for them, before ripping them a new one for the catastrophic dimensional events they've just caused. Okay. Again, I'm obviously way out of the loop here because all these significant moments would probably make a lot more sense or mean a lot more to me if I had followed the story from the start. But, you know, it's Jay's fault, okay? Or Evan, sorry. I'm getting the fucking characters mixed up here. Evan's fault. Oh my god. Maybe Jay is Evan. It's all about the he said, she said bullshit. Da-na-na. Right, list please. They're not pulling punches with this one. Mother of God, that was heavy. Wasn't expecting that level of intensity from these guys, I'm not gonna lie. But they've got a few things in their locker. Now we're moving on to Gatekeeper, which is what I mentioned previously. Ryan Kirby, a fit for a king. So let's just quickly read about this before we get into it. Jay tells how after his death at the hands of the Degraver, he and Sherlock were assigned to the panel. So we're kind of getting like full circle here where Jay's going to now tell the whole story because he was one of the fucking overlord gods, whatever you want to call it. And he and Sherlock were assigned to the panel of judgment as gatekeepers, the authoritative enforcers that serve as both bounty hunters in the ethereal realms, working to keep people dimensional, jumping between worlds and collecting souls that have led astray into the mortal realm. Not quite alive, but not quite dead. Both he and Sherlock walked between the three realms ethereally for a decade, doing the panel's work and maintaining peace amongst the realms. Correctional Department 3BC under their department head Barry, the narrator. Okay. Jay explains that he never put together that Ethan was the Ronin due to another department signing off that Ethan was perma-killed just before he got his armor that made him the Ronin. Okay, we're getting so deep here, I'm so confused. You should put 2 and 2 together after they first crossed paths after speaking to Sharon, where Jay and Sherlock were already chasing another bounty at the time of the crash. Shifting his tone, Jay explains how he and Sherlock attempted to stop the Trinity from performing the dimensional jump tasks to them by the narrator, knowing the events that would follow if Rachel found out that Jay was dead in the mortal realm, but was stopped by the narrator without knowledge as to why. Rachel tries to reconnect with him, but Jay pushes her away, asking her if she knows the full extent what they've just done. As if on cue, portals between the three realms begin to open, and the foes the Trinity had defeated, Degraver and NK included, resurrect from the death, commencing the first stage of the world collision. As the sky opens up and begins to rain, the Trinity and Jay are surrounded once again by their foes. A siren blaring in the background, and pre-recorded message of warning plays out over electronic devices. Warning of the end. Before the onslaught can begin, however, a voice commands them to stop. And emerging from the crowd of the now bowing servants is Sherlock Bones. We're finally going to meet the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Sherlock Bones, Mr. SB. Let's hear it. So,
you're gone.
I don't know who
You have no idea what the hell you've done.
Ryan Kirby is going to play. Is he going to play Sherlock Bones, the gatekeeper? I'm lost.
Let me tell you how I died.
Is this Ryan Kirby? I don't know. I don't know if Fit for King. Yeah, so this is Ryan Kirby, I'm guessing then. The Keeper of Worlds. I like his cadence. I feel like I'd probably like Fit for King. I've seen them being reacted to by a lot of people, and they also headlined a North Lane Alpha Wolf tour recently. I've seen a lot of the reaction community were at that show, so I guess I gotta get into them at some point. You guys should suggest some albums or whatever to check out. I think it's kind of a staple in the metalcore community to check them out, you know?
The wolves are at the door.
Do you know what you've done or the damage you're about to cause through the collapse of worlds?
I'm guessing we're gonna get a massive heavy outro to this album with Joe Bad being featured on the track. Big filthy fucking breakdowns. So I never realized that Joe's actual name was Joe Badalato. Right, okay. We are now heading into the final track, which I mentioned obviously has the Joe Bad feature. It's called Hail to the King. Now, this has been a bit of a wild ride. Now, this track is 8 minutes and 15 seconds long. So I think reading the little introductions to each track at the start has been very helpful in the sense that it's allowed me to just focus on the actual musical elements instead of having to like really focus on the lyrics. Again, I'm kind of like paying attention to some of the lyrics, but because I understand the whole story, because I'm reading the, you know, description of what's going on, I don't need to pay too much attention because otherwise that'll just get very exhausting trying to keep up with what's going on. So, you know, being able to kind of be told what the story is about as it kind of unfolds is definitely handy to have. I don't know, if I didn't have this moment or these like descriptions, I think I'd be completely lost. And I don't think the music in and of itself is enough to kind of keep me that engaged for too long. There is some really cool moments. I do like some of the melodic moments, some of the cleans that the narrator has. Some of the like vocal segments from the female features on the track are really nice as well. Obviously there's some cool breakdowns, some like really like Pirates of the Caribbean-esque theatrical feeling moments in some of the breakdowns as well. It feels like sometimes it's lacking a bit of like a punch to it. Some of the lyrics are a little bit kind of cringe. I'm kind of like listening to it, I'm like, Jesus. But it lends itself to that like that mystical storytelling feel. So I'm not going to like critique the lyrics too much, but overall it's a cool album. It's a little bit exhausting because obviously I'm listening, like, how long have I been recording for? I'm recording for an hour and a half now. And I just did Veil of Maya False Isles before this, which was another like 40 minutes of filming. So I'm over the 2 and a bit hour filming point. So obviously there's a bit of fatigue creeping in, but also because I'm like reading and trying to like follow the story, it gets a little bit more intense. So I'm sure I'd have a different perspective of the album if I just listened to it from start to finish. But then again, I don't think I'd like the album as much as I have enjoyed it if I just listened and tried to keep up with the lyrics myself, because I'd be completely lost, and I don't think the music in and of itself is enough to kind of keep me that focused. So yeah, it's been cool, but look, I'm happy to kind of finish up now because I think it's getting to that point where I'm like, right, okay, I need to go to the toilet, I'm not gonna lie. You know, when I record for too long, I just like, my bladder is like, nope. So we're gonna get into the last part, which again has the feature from Joe Bad from Fit for an Autopsy, and the track is called Hail to the King. So, as the resurrected and the demons of the hell begin to kneel and bow to their king, Sherlock waits his way through the crowd, occasionally cutting down a mortal or a supernaturalist who refuses to bow. As Sherlock makes his way to the stage, in his over-the-top theatrical way, he snatches the hand of the king, his old sword from Rachel, and briefly comments on Ronan's armour, admiring what he's done to it. Making his way to the podium, and he and Kay, who now has a body of his own, thanks to resurrection, shake hands... he and Akay shake hands and proclaims himself the new ruler of both the mortal realm and the rabbit hole, and asks Clara to be his queen once again. Oh, Jesus. She, of course, accepts. Yeah, you're damn right she does. She'd be fucking beheaded in an instant. And the new king begins his reign. What follows is a week-long pillaging and war, as Sherlock rages across both the rabbit hole, aided by the Graver and Akay, and reluctantly the Trinity and Jay. The panel are suspiciously silent in intervening, with their gatekeepers acting as mercenary agents, half of them siding with Sherlock, the other half joining the angel forces of the garden, Heaven, who wage battle against Sherlock's reign. This doesn't stop the new king, and he, Clara, He and Clara continue their beautiful reign across worlds. However, on the 7th day, things take shifts, and the narrator finally emerges from hiding after watching Sherlock set up his kingdom. In a surprise turn of events, the narrator strikes both Clara and Sherlock down and reveals himself as King Bafico, and the gang realize that they haven't made a kingdom for Sherlock. They've made a kingdom for King Bafico and his new unified worlds, Apocalyptica. Right. Or Apocalypta. So now I'm confused. Is Joe Bad the king, or is it the guy from Fifth Forever King? Gatekeeper. Ryan Kirby. I don't know. Ryan Kirby's the gatekeeper, and then... yeah, I'm completely lost. Anyway, fuck it, let's listen to the track. My brain's mush at this point. So this is that, like pre-recorded message, I guess, that they're gonna say. Yeah, this message is recorded at the request of Government Department Section 13.
This message is recorded at the request of Government Department Section.
Wasn't far off.
Impending dimension collision detected. Please stay in your homes if you want a higher than 10% chance of survival. Nours.
A king once said, if a man hasn't found something to die for, he ain't fit to live. Well, I died for you all, but resurrection's a bitch. What do you do when a king walks in? Do you get on your knees or die on your feet? Do you atone for your sins? Hail to the king. Get on your knees and bow to me. Do you wanna die for nothing? Hail to the king. Do you hear those trumpets? Gabriel's playing for me.
I need to stretch my legs.
The queen.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Will you sit on this throne again? Can I go forever?
Of course, my love.
So this is gonna be where Joe Bad comes in. Let's be real here. I'm not sure that is Joe. I don't think it is. Still not convinced that this is Joe Bad. Maybe I'm wrong, but I want to hear the whole track before I see whether it is him. I think his voice is more distinct than that. again. Oh, actually, I'm completely lost where Joe Bad is in this. He probably is already. I'd imagine he's not being killed. Oh.
Oh, sun so silent you showed us the heavens, but at the summit of
I
out
think that was Joe Bad there. I could hear him at the end of that.
a lie. Now the sky's deep red in
This is definitely not him.
collapse upon the wall.
This is the narrator coming back as Bafiko.
Or is it rising to an apocalyptic climax as the ground is scorched by blood, the skin of the earth stripped off its back, the hands of the king?
I guess Joe Bob was doing the very deathcore vocals with the like high-pitched squeals and everything in the middle of that. Just raining terror. His cadence sounded different to what he sounds like in Fit for an Autopsy though.
Thank you, Trinity, for releasing me, for telling this world's final battle.
Okay, I'm lost. I don't know who Joe Bad is here. Okay, here's Joe Bad. Yeah, okay, here's Joe. I don't know if he was already in it. It's definitely him though. Yeah, that was Joe Bad at the end. I think he might have been throughout, like back and forth between the vocalist of the Gloom in the Corner, maybe. I'm not entirely sure because I couldn't really tell. There was so much going on. Again, point I want to make is if this track wasn't so deeply embedded in the story, obviously it's the outro track, so it's a big climactic moment in the overall story. I think musically I would have hated it. I'm not hated it, but like the chaos in the middle worked so well because it's like you can imagine these like villages being like torched and destroyed by these gods. So you're like visually satisfied because the music also paints the picture that you're imagining because of how the story has led up to that point so far. But like overall, as just like sonically, it just doesn't sound appealing to me from a replay stat, like from a replay value point of view. Like, let me see. Like here, it's just pure fucking noise at that point. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people like that sound. I've always been very vocal. The fact that I never really enjoyed that side of deathcore, but because I'm so into the story and I understand what's going on because of all the different things we read up on, it makes sense and you can appreciate it in context of the story. But from a musical standpoint, it's not for me. It just doesn't sound great. Cool to have the Joe Bad feature. He obviously works as like this fucking outro god coming in or whatever. Makes sense, I guess. Yeah, I couldn't really figure out if it was him at the end or not, but it was it was definitely him at the end. I couldn't figure out where he was in the middle of the track, but his cadence really kind of like shone through at the end. So yeah, overall, a very good album. A very good album. If I was to rate it, it's kind of hard because I'm rating it as an album and comparing it to the other albums that I've heard, but it's like one of these albums that I have to rate like kind of almost separately. I think from a storytelling standpoint and like an ability to captivate and just creativity, I think it's very, very good. So it ranks high on that side of things, but I think from an overall like replay value, it's one of these kind of like spectacle albums for me. Again, there's some tracks on it. Let me see which tracks I actually did add to the playlist. There was only 3. Which one was Black Rot with Monica Strutt, there was Pandora's Box with Lauren Babic, and then there was the Nor Hell a Fury, which was the third last track, track 11. So yeah, of the 3, that was 3 tracks of 13 tracks, so not bad. I think it's one of these albums that you kind of either listen to it from start to finish or you don't really listen to it at all. That's my take. Behemoth was a cool track, really heavy. I think Red Clouds was maybe, or Nor Hella Fury, I think that was the really heavy one as well. I liked some of that. There was like some harmonic moments in it. But overall, I think if I'm going to rate this album as a whole, like forget the story in it, just overall as an album, I'd say it's probably like a 6.5 for me, maybe a 6.5. Again, I'm listening to it very, very, what's the word, in detail. Like a lot of people maybe would just listen to this and like try and figure it out, but because I'm obviously doing a video for it, I want to give it as much respect as possible. So it is a little bit fatiguing. Like this is an hour and 43 minute long video at this point, where I'm like really trying to focus on the story. Each track I'm pausing, trying to figure out each step of the story. So it's a little bit of a different like take. It doesn't feel as like relaxing as an album should be, or like a different journey, because I'm like so focused on like breaking down each moment. I'm not focused, but I feel like for one of these albums to give it the true respect it deserves, you kind of have to. So it does take away to a certain extent, but because I was listening to the tracks and not having to pay too much attention to the actual lyrics because I'd read up on it beforehand, it definitely helped, so I could appreciate the musical side of things a lot more. But I think, like I said throughout the video, if I was to have listened to the tracks in order with no pauses in between to read up on it, I think I'd even be more lost. And I think then the music of it, the music in and of itself wouldn't be enough to kind of captivate me and keep me listening. So yeah, overall, I think it's like a 6.5 album. I think concept wise and the whole story is very, very creative and very, very like time consuming, especially if it's like in order of all of their albums and it follows a story. It's very, very cool. Some of the lyrics I think are a little bit like cringe, but again, it kind of leads into the whole story. So it's like this like mystical like kind of feel to it. So it is pretty cool in that regard. So I think creativity wise, it's like a strong 9.5. I've definitely heard cooler stories in whether it be like novels, movies. So you're kind of comparing it across the board because it's trying to be this vessel that brings you on a journey. It is kind of like being compared to like other stories. It's not just music. I think musically, yes, it's a very good story, but when you're comparing it to like other stories, it's kind of like, again, I'm jumping in late as well, so I can't really give my full opinion, but I think just overall for the effort, it does deserve to be in the 9s for creativity and like as an overall theatrical piece, and I suppose as like a spectacle piece of music. But musically in and of itself, just the actual like sonic standpoint, not much that I'd go back to on that, to be honest. It would definitely be something that I'd be like, if people are kind of asking me about the genre, I'd be like, oh, if you want to see something really creative and cool, I'd say go check this album out, Trinity. But, you know, overall, not the biggest fan. I'd say like a 6.5, maybe a high 6. Don't know if we can reach the 7. But yeah, that's my opinion, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below if you did enjoy as much as I did. Let me know if you fucking love this album. I've not honestly heard anything being suggested by these guys on the channel before, so it's kind of new to me as well, so I'm interested. Thank you to my man, Evan. I was nearly forgetting your name there, Evan. I called you fucking Jay a minute ago. I've just taken in so many different names that my head's a bit gone. So yeah, guys, obviously, if you want to avail of this, we'll call it a service, I guess. If you want to skip the album or poll queue on Patreon, then you can get involved by checking out the link in the description, patreon.com/TrueFortune. You can submit an album to be, you know, made a video on the channel. Obviously, there's an option to not have it put on the channel. You can just get me to send you the link directly, or you can get a single done. All the options are on Patreon, guys. Go check it out. Appreciate you all for watching. Thank you so much. Make sure you like the video if you did enjoy. Make sure you're sub to the channel. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm signing out. Look after yourselves. See you in the next one. Cheers.